Now, hold on, it's opening, but very, very slowly. All right, almost. All right, hopefully y'all can see that. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see if I can make it to where it's, does that look any better there? Don't know. Yeah, there we go. All right, so I'll do the commercial part here. That's about FCC, the overview here. We're actually a global company. We're the parent company's one of Europe's leading public services, public service groups. FCC, just to let you know, stands for Fomento de Construcciones y Contratas, which is really long, which is why we say FCC. We're one of the world's top 5 companies providing environmental services, and we operate in 35 countries, and we have almost 60,000 employees. Got over 100 years of experience, and we provide services in over 5,000 municipalities worldwide. And we have over 220 facilities that handle over 16 million tons of waste per year. There's a little map shows where we are. FCC's newer to the U.S. We're expanding pretty rapidly, but new to this country. And these are just some of the services we provide. And other than recycling, we're doing all kinds of other things too. So
I'm not seeing the slides move. Is my screen frozen? I only see the title slide, FCC Virtual Tours.
Okay, I don't know. Is anybody else seeing the other slides?
This is my first time looking at this kind of thing on Teams. What I saw is that I actually have the ability to navigate the slides myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that is interesting.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
Good.
Okay, so I'm going to the next slide here where it says from waste to resource. That's actually, if you're on slide 5, that's the picture of the facility we have here in Dallas. We're here at the beautiful McComas Bluffs landfill here owned by the city of Dallas. I'm on slide 6 now. Accepted materials. So let's talk about things that we want. We want material that's empty, clean, and dry. When we get material that's, especially bottles that have liquid in them, they're harder to recycle because the machinery doesn't handle it very well. We want fiber that's dry, obviously. Cardboard that's flattened is preferable. It doesn't have to be. And we're going to take pretty much anything that tears: magazine, office papers, newspapers, cereal boxes, junk mail, things like that. The one thing that's an exception to that is we don't want any cat and dog food bags. They do tear, but they're made, they have what's called wet strength in them, and they're designed so if they get wet, they don't fall apart. And if they don't fall apart when wet, the paper mills can't use them. That's actually trash. And then plastics are containers 1 to 7, with the exception of styrofoam. Number 1 plastic is PET, like your water and soda bottles. And number 2 is, there's 2 kinds. There's natural, like milk jugs, and there's pigmented, like your detergent bottles. We'll take rigid plastics like 5-gallon buckets or laundry baskets or plastic kiddie slides, things like that. Glass, we'll take bottles and jars of any type. And the metals, we're going to take your soup cans and your aluminum cans and metal pots and pans, things like that. Okay, I'm on slide 7 now. So what happens to your recyclables once they are at the MRF? So I'm going to try. There's the next part. This part might be way too advanced for me to do. I did make this work when I would practice it the other day. So I'm going to try and figure out how to make this work. I'm going to try and show you some videos here, and I'm going to see if they are going to. I know I can see them. First off, can you see any difference yet?
No.
Okay, hold on just a sec. I think I got to share it differently. Like I said, I did this the other day, and I had. I'm looking here for the file on that. Yeah, because I actually did practice this, but maybe I needed more practice. Sorry about the delay here. Try to figure out how to make this video work here. Well, I'll come up. Let me just keep talking to it to start.
I think if you go to the video now, it may work because we're seeing your screen, everything that's on your screen.
I'm on the video now.
I can see that.
Okay. So this is called a glass breaker, and this is as a machine as there's actually it doesn't fall on the floor. There's actually a conveyor under this, but these are metal spinning discs, and this is at the beginning of the system. And as the material runs through this, the glass and other small particle pieces, the glass breaks and falls through. And we try and take out the glass at the beginning because it kind of can tear up your machinery. Plus, we have people working out there, and glass does tend to. I'm going to play it one more time. Does tend to cut people. So we want to take out as much of the sharp stuff as we can. So most of the material rides across the top, and then the glass and other particles fall down, and they go on a conveyor that takes them to another section of the site. And we have blowers and some other screens that kind of get that cleaned up or separated between the blowers, blow out little bits of paper and things like that. So glass is not we get a lot of glass. We're shipping 25 to 30 tons of glass a day. But it's not a big money maker for us. I'm not going to lie, but but we do sell it. We definitely take glass. Next thing I'm going to show you is this one's pretty neat here. I'm going to show you. Come on, this we have these optical sorters we use to help us remove different things. This is just got a little music thing to it. Anyway, I'll let you. Hey, I think this will show you how. Hope it wants to.
I've lost audio here. I don't know about anybody else, but no audio.
Yeah, I was able to hear you.
I'm sorry, what were you saying? I couldn't hear you. Were you able to see that video?
We did see the video. I think there was just it was quiet for a minute.
Well, there's just some music. So just to tell you, the optical sorters, we use them to take out different things, especially plastics. We get a lot of these PET bottles, the water and soda bottles. So we're shipping 60 to 80 tons a week of this. So if we had to hand sort it, it would be a lot. The computer on these optical sorters, they take about 2,500 pictures a second, and they identify, hey, here's what we want to remove, and it turns on the jet of air. And we have them taking out most of the plastics, but also some fiber, smaller pieces of fiber, and things like that. Does that. Got a couple more of these I want to show you. This one is on shows you how we separate the. Hopefully this one doesn't have as much music to it. It might. This one shows you how we separate the fiber. Oh, good. There's no music. same situation. It doesn't fall on the floor. It falls to another conveyor. But we have these spinning rubber discs, and the paper tends to be flat and two-dimensional, and so it rides across the top, and then the containers fall through to another conveyor. So the paper will go on top, then it goes to a conveyor that takes it to a quality control station, and then the containers fall through. I'm going to show that one more time, and go to then they head towards the optical sorters. So this is how we separate the fiber. We do the same thing with the cardboard. Cardboard goes through a screen very similar to this, but it's got wider spacing, so the cardboard tends to ride across the top. The smaller pieces of fiber, like newspaper and office papers, fall through, along with the three-dimensional containers, like with cans and bottles and things like that. And the last video I'm going to show just kind of shows at the end of the process. We've got hundreds of tons on a daily basis of recyclables. So in order to ship them, we use a couple of balers. This is we have one baler like this, and we have another baler. So the material falls in. These balers run automatically. You set the commodity, and then they run on. That's all you have to do. Just set the commodity and turn them on. They crush the material. They put wires on them, and they eject the bales automatically. You don't have to stand there and watch them. And if you're making, say, a mixed paper bale, the bales tend to be around. I can show that one more time. The bales tend to be around 2,200 pounds. Cardboard's around 2,000 pounds each, and then bales of plastic tend to be lighter, obviously, because they're not as dense. They can be 12 to 1,500 pounds a piece. Steel cans tend to be very heavy, maybe 2,500 pounds. Aluminum, again, not quite as heavy, even though it's a metal, and it bales really nice. It's obviously a lighter composition. So that's kind of how we bale it up for shipment. I'll go back to the just a quick trivia question. Any idea on how many aluminum cans it takes to make a ton? Any guesses?
100,000.
Besides a lot, that's not a bad guess. It takes about 53,000 cans to make a ton, and we ship 20 tons at a time. So we need about 1 million cans, and we're doing a load a week. So we get about 1 million cans of aluminum in per week. So, and that's removed not by hand, but a machine. I don't have a picture of it here, and we use eddy current to separate it. Sorry, my phone is dinging incessantly there. So once the materials are sorted, where do they go? There's cardboard is the most recycled material, because everybody has it, right? You get it in your cereal boxes, you get it, your Amazon shipments and all that. And there's a lot of mills that are looking for cardboard. We ship to some mills here in local, like in Forney, or not too far away in Shreveport. Mixed paper, same deal. A lot of it gets used, gets made into liner board, which is like for cereal boxes and soda boxes and things like that. And so most of that is kept, we ship domestically, pretty close. There are mills in Mexico that are looking for material like this. I've shipped to Mexico before, Japan, China, Thailand. China doesn't really take recyclables anymore, but typically you can ship it here pretty close. And then the PET bottles and HDPE, once they're recycled, a lot of them are made into new food and packaging. So the water and carbonated drink bottles can be made into food trays and hand sanitizer bottles, etc. But another thing that PET is made into, a lot of the new carpet today is made out of PET. So I used to ship PET to a company called Mohawk, and that's all they did was make carpet out of PET. And then you can some clothing, T-shirts, and things are made out of PET as well. Again, we need these bottles to be as empty as possible, because those optical sorters, you can see they're just using chutes of air to separate the bottles. If it's half full of, Diet Coke, it's just going to fall. It's not going to separate properly. The importance of education. So that was one thing I was asked before most of you jumped on, is what's the biggest change I've seen in the industry in the last 18 years? And the biggest change is the material gets dirtier and dirtier every year. Part of that is from something called wish cycling. If people aren't sure if something will recycle, they're like, man, I hope it is, and they'll throw it in the recycling bin. So we get a lot of things we can't, they're just, some things are trash. Or they're recyclable, but there's no market for them. So if there's no market and it's recyclable, it's trash. A good example of that would be plastic grocery store bags. I can't sell them. Nobody will buy them. Now, I know if you take them back to most of the grocery stores, they'll take them. And if they're clean and source separated like that, I know there are companies that will take them like that. But once they run through a system like we have here, they're too dirty. Nobody wants them. So the importance of education is important. Some other things that we get there, we don't like this time of year when it's warming up, we're going to get tons of rubber hoses. Rubber is not recyclable. After Christmas, we get Christmas tree lights. We don't want those. We get medical waste. We get car batteries, tires, dead animals, and worse. So the importance of education, most people care and want to do well with recycling. So we do try and push the education. I mean, there's obviously a segment of the population, they don't care and they're going to throw whatever in their bin. So we do encourage, municipalities to, have some sort of code compliance enforcement. Some cities are really good at this, and some cities are not so good at it. So that's another big portion of it is the education piece. I know a lot of schools are really good at it. The younger kids that grow up, they know exactly what to recycle and what not to recycle. And there's some things that are, could potentially be recyclable that we don't recycle here, right? There's compost places that might take wood or brush, and there's electronic places that you have to have special permitting and equipment to handle electronics. We're not set up for that here. We're just set up to handle the curbside recyclables, and we get a lot of it. We try and process about 35 tons an hour. We run 2 shifts, 6 days a week, so we're handling. If you do the math on that, it's several thousand tons a month. So if we've got to run it fast, or we will literally get buried alive in material because it does not stop coming in. So I don't know if I mentioned this. Our biggest customer is the city of Dallas, but we're also handling Garland and Mesquite and University Park, and I'm sure and then we're also handle recyclables from a lot of other companies. There's not many facilities like this. The capital investment is enormous, to not just for the building, but to get the equipment. So we handle recyclables from other companies like Republic and Waste Connections and a bunch of the smaller haulers that you may or may not have ever heard of before. So that's just kind of a quick and dirty on recycling. I'm sure there will be questions. So what questions do you have?
I've got one.
Uh-huh.
It seems like the y'all's model and most of the machines that you presented in the videos are built around sorting the waste stream, right? And I know that you said the FCC operates a lot in Europe. My understanding is that a lot of other countries have a more sorted stream coming from the consumer, coming from the people disposing of it. So I'm wondering, is that something that we should be thinking about in terms of making things easier to recycle, or making the recycling system function better here in the States, or more specifically in Texas? Like if we had bins for plastic, one for glass, one for metal, is that something that affects you guys? Is it something that y'all think is a strong suit of yours, or what? It seems like it's something that would take a lot of cost and effort to sort all that.
Yeah, I mean, there's pluses and minuses. If it comes in, it used to be before they caught, the quote unquote single stream where it's all mixed together. It was dual stream where the fiber was kept separated from the plastic and metal containers. And if it comes in dual stream and you run it separately, it's much easier to process. But I will tell you that now with the 96-gallon totes, you have most of the carts are picked up with automation. Before, when the average municipality, when they were having to use helpers and pick up the dual stream, separate different containers and dump them in, they averaged an OSHA recordable injury per work day. So there are safety considerations as far as collection, and of course you can collect a lot more, a lot faster with an automated truck, if you will. The arm that goes out and picks up, dumping the can. So from the collection perspective, doing single stream is extremely efficient. But it does. Then you do have to, separate with, a lot of machinery. Obviously, we have people working up on the line too. The machinery does most of the work, and then our people are there to, kind of clean and polish it and to help separate anything that didn't get separated. So, we have some people on the paper lines, and there might be some cans and bottles left in it, so they're grabbing those and throwing them in the appropriate chutes. Or, after the optical sorters, we'll have somebody behind, after we're looking at all the PET to make sure, there wasn't, a piece of paper or something next to the bottle that just got blown over that, came over by mistake. So we can make sure we have as good a quality as we can for the mills. Also, at the beginning of the system, they're looking for stuff that doesn't belong that we want to pull out. If you get a piece of rope or something, or long piece of wire, or a garden hose, and you don't grab it, it will wrap up in the machines and jam them, and it'll shut us down. And so, we're really a production plant. The loose recyclables is our raw material, and so we need the machines to run as much as possible. We track every minute of downtime every day, because that costs us money. And so we're trying to have as much uptime as possible, because the more we run, the more we can sell, the more money we can make. And since we're so busy, I think from what I've heard, we're the second largest single stream recycling plant in the state. We've got to keep running just to try and stay ahead of the inbound material, just because we have so much of it. So I don't know if that answers your question. I think probably answers some of it, but the dual stream is definitely easier to process. There's no doubt, and you don't need quite as much automation. But when you're doing trying to process really large quantities like this, you'd have to have all this type of infrastructure anyway in order to keep up with the volume. So, other questions?
Yeah, I have one, and you may have covered this. I had a little trouble getting in, but of the total amount of plastic that you get in, what percentage of it do you think ends up trashed, and what percentage gets into the reuse stream?
It's the percentage of trash is very small. It tends to be stuff that's so small it's hard to capture. Like, if you go get a water bottle, the industry's gone back and forth on this. I'd say you leave the cap on, but I'd say you take the cap off and you throw it in. We're probably not going to capture that little cap running 35 tons an hour. But if you leave it on the water bottle, then we're almost definitely will capture it. So little bits of recyclables like that, the caps and the little shreddy paper, we actually call that residue because it's technically recyclable, but we're not going to capture every last piece. The types of plastic that we definitely throw away, like sort of the grocery store bags, because there's no market for them. I mean, they're recyclable, but nobody will buy them, so they're going to go to the landfill. The vast majority of the other plastics are, I'd say well over 99% are going to get captured and recycled.
So I've heard that, like the and I don't know what number they are, but the packages you buy strawberries in, or your spinach comes in, that those end up in the trash. Is that correct, or are you guys able to reclaim those?
No, there's no, again, like if you get like, those bags, or like you go get Tide Pods in that bag, again, no market for that. That is trash. By weight, it's very small, but yeah, we're really only recycling rigid containers, bottles, plastic trays, other, larger rigid plastics, but any type of plastic bag of any kind. I mean, and you need a lot of those to get, even 100 pounds, right? So you can have a big pile, like, oh my gosh, it's a lot, but by weight, it's a small percentage. But yeah, there's no market for those. So
well, I'm referring specifically to, and I don't know if you've bought, for instance, strawberries or spinach lately, but they come in a very thin, rigid, clear container. I don't know what numbers on those, but I've heard that those, they don't have much weight compared to size, but they are rigid. But that stuff doesn't recycle.
Yeah, it depends. We have one of the optical stores, sorts on plastics 4s and 5s, and so it's kind of a mixed grade. Some other examples of 4s and 5s would be like margarine tubs and lids and yogurt cups, and a lot of the big plastic cups you get at fast food places. So if it's a plastic 4 or 5, it's the optical sorter pulls those out, and then we do sell like a mixed grade of these kind of oddball plastics, except for styrofoam. Styrofoam, just to let you know, is 100% recyclable, but it's got to be melted and densified, which we don't do here. I have seen that done before, like a lot of furniture warehouses or places that have a lot of styrofoam will have their own densifier, and it comes out, it looks like these giant plastic cow patties. You put them in big boxes, and then you sell them as is. And it's actually worth a lot of money. But, styrofoam we get here, I mean, by the time we get here, it's either falling apart or filthy, and you'd need you need a lot of styrofoam to densify to get, even a pound. So,
is there any way to deal with that styrofoam? Is there anybody that takes it? Is there any system? I mean, I know you're talking about your company in specific, but I figure you probably got some other ideas about the industry. I mean, that's a major thing. I just got rid of 30 wine boxes cases that were full of styrofoam. I couldn't get anybody to take them.
I have heard of some, like, I just moved up here recently from San Antonio, and one of the cities we dealt with was the city of New Braunfels, had a drop off for styrofoam, and they had their own densifier, and they densified it. And every few months they brought us a bunch of densified styrofoam. So but locally here, I don't know. There definitely could be some place doing it. I'm not aware of it, but I don't know of any recycler today that's densifying. But if it's already densified, it's real easy to sell. There's a lot of places that want it. It's actually called EPS. It's expanded polystyrene, and you can put it through a machine that kind of pelletizes it, grates it up, and then it can be made into styrofoam or something else again. But as far as locally anybody taking it, I don't know, but I'd have to do some research on that. But it's definitely possible. But like I said, you need some sort of drop-off place where you can get enough styrofoam that's clean and in bulk to make it worth your while. And that's not something that, like I said, I'm not aware of any recyclers doing it, but it doesn't mean that they're not.
Got it. Well, I appreciate that. That's
other questions.
So we hear a lot about, recycling doesn't pay. It's, kind of everything goes into the landfill, all these myths. But you're actually able to make money from recycling by reselling it to other people that need the recycling for their products.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, Yeah, I heard people say, well, this gets all thrown away. Well, how are we going to make any money if we throw it all away? So we're going to put out as much as we actually have three sources of revenue. Potentially one is for most customers, we charge a fee to come dump here. Two, we're going to sell the material and make as much money as we can. And three, if we have customers bring excessively contaminated material, we do charge them back an extra fee if they're above spec. And so the recyclables aren't commodities, and so just like any commodities, the prices go up and down. So when prices are nice and high, it's a lot easier to make money. When prices are low, it's tougher, just like it would be in any other business. So our goal is that we have to keep our costs as low as possible, which means we need to be as efficient as possible. And there's a lot that goes into a plant like this. We spend a lot of money on maintenance on a monthly basis. This is we have maintenance people here 24 hours a day because there's always something to grease or a bearing to replace or worn out other components. So it's a large investment. But yeah, if you know what you're doing and you run really efficiently, you definitely can make money. But it's a tougher industry, I guess I'd say, than the trash industry, where if a trash company wants to make a little bit more money, they just do a price increase because they're not selling the trash per se, so they don't have to worry about prices dropping and things like that. So it's a little different beast, definitely different from trash. But we obviously we want to divert as much as we can from the landfill. And to me that's a big deal. And then the more things we can recycle, make them new again is great. And then we've got over 100 people working here, so we've created quite a few jobs that 20 years ago wouldn't have existed, right? Because you wouldn't have had a facility like this. So that also appeals that we're helping out. We're helping the environment for our whole area, and we're providing some nice jobs for quite a few people. So that's also to me that's a big appeal.
Sure, yeah, thank you. And without divulging like your client list or anything, who is the largest purchaser of recycled plastics from you?
Well, we sell to several different. We don't just sell to one place. Mm-hmm. We sell to several different companies. That tends to work better because let's say different mills, they'll have downtime, either unexpected or planned, or hey, we're full and we don't need any PET this week, and so we do kind of spread around, or maybe around half a dozen different companies. I don't directly deal with that. We just kind of say in a weekly, we have people that schedule these for us. So we just once a week we say, hey, next week I want this many loads on each day on these different commodities, and then there's another group that sells the material for us. But by weight, of course, it's mostly fiber. Mm-hmm. We're selling to mills either in Texas or Louisiana or Oklahoma mainly. There's plenty of mills nearby that'll take the cardboard or the mixed paper. If you have high grades, like I said, like printer's waste or like the shredding companies, we don't take that here. But I've done that in the past, like the shredders like Iron Mountain and others. The mills in Mexico will buy every last bit of that and make it into new paper towels and toilet paper and Kleenex and napkins. I probably know every mill manager in northern Mexico because the site I came from in San Antonio, we were shipping to Mexico every single day. Yeah. So there's plenty of demand for fiber nearby.
And in terms of when you sell that plastic to one of these companies, are they then melting it down into raw products to make other bottles, or how does that part work after you hand it off?
Yeah, they grind it up first, and then they wash it and and run it through a system to clean it up, and then sometimes they might sell it ground up as is to other companies, but normally they melt it down and make it into new things. And so that's why different. One thing to bear in mind is different grades of plastic are worth more money. So natural, a milk jug, no pigmentation is far and away the most valuable, because you can make it into another milk jug or any other color you want. Pigmented HCB, like a detergent bottle, isn't as valuable, because if you have an orange bottle, you can make an orange one or darker, but you can't make it clearer because it's already got the pigment in. Mm-hmm. And so same with PET, because although there is some pigment in PET, I think a Sprite bottle would be.
That's it. That's very interesting. So when you say pigment, you don't mean ink on top printed on. You mean actually pigment in the plastic.
That's correct.
Uh-huh.
So if you go get a Tide bottle and it's orange, right?
Right.
They have put pigment in to color the plastic. Yes. So.
Got it. Shredded paper. So, for instance, I generate a fair amount of paper we have to shred for security reasons, and I've unfortunately been throwing that away. Is there any way to deal with that?
We could definitely take it. Any recycler can take it, but it's preferable to put it in paper bags that are like maybe stapled shut. Uh-huh. Because if it's just all loose shred, I mean, we're not going to get much of it, right? But if it's in a paper bag, it'll end up probably with the mixed paper, and you can get recycled.
Got it. So
paper bag, like a plastic bag, the bag will tear open and the shred will go everywhere, and it's just not going to be captured.
Okay, so put it in a paper bag, close it up somehow in a reasonable fashion with paper tape or something, and it probably will get picked up.
Yeah, that's one thing to keep in mind. When fiber goes to the mills, I'd say there's tape on it or paper clips or staples. The first thing they do is they put it through what's called a drum, like a drum pulper. And so they're going to pulp the paper. And so the paper, and then they're going to kind of skip. Well, it's going to go through this drum thing where they're spraying water on it. And as the drum spins, it's like a giant barrel on its side. It's got a wire mesh. And so the fiber will fall through, and then like the paper clips and the staples and the tape, it all gets ejected out the back end. So I've seen that at some mills. It is a very smelly place to stand, but yeah. It is very effective on getting the stuff out. And then once the fiber goes in the mill, then they de-ink it. That's the next thing. But it's interesting to see. Been to some mills, actually in Canada a couple times, and one here in the States. But so that's how they get that type of stuff separated from any of the fiber as it's coming in.
And when everybody else is done with questions, I just wanted to get kind of 3 takeaways from you that I'm thinking, because we're doing a plastics tabling event with the San Antonio chapter over in San Marcos next weekend, and it's all about the kind of the ugly side of plastic. And I'd like to come up with 3 kind of optimistic things in the ways that people could deal with recycling to make it more effective. So I'll wait till the end, till everybody else is finished to ask that question.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions?
You had mentioned education as an aspect of the kind of the sorting process and keeping maximizing the amount of stuff that you receive that recyclable or usable as a product for you guys. Is that something that you guys have programs that you work with your municipalities, or is that all incumbent on the municipalities to do that education of the customers?
There's a couple things on that. It depends on the contract or our agreement. Most municipalities have a recycling coordinator, but some don't. And then we do normally during non-pandemic times, we do a lot of tours, especially for kids. So it kind of depends on on a case-by-case basis. For the third-party haulers like Republic and Waste Connections, they should be doing their own. They normally have their own education programs. But the thing we really just want to emphasize is if you're not sure it can be recycled, then don't put it in. Yeah, but unfortunately, like I said, we get all kinds of crazy stuff. You wouldn't believe the things we see here. It can be very interesting to see, it can be very disturbing to see, but we do see some weird things, that's for sure.
And in general, Bruce, I know that in Dallas it's single source and they're supposed to not be in the blue recycling bags. What happens when there are plastic bags that contain the recyclables? What do you have to do to kind of get those split open and get them into the sorters?
Well, if let's say there's someone throws a plastic bag out, and we get it here. Well, a lot of times the bag will tear open and the stuff will spill out, which is good. But let's say we have a black plastic bag that goes up on the line and it's still sealed. We're going to assume it's trash and throw it away immediately because we just have too much material coming to tear open bags. Now, if it's clear and we can see that it's full of recyclables or it's partially torn open and recyclables are pouring out, then we might grab it and rip it open. But a lot, we do get bags of just garbage, so we don't want to rip open and find it's full of cat litter or other things, because that definitely happens. So just from a safety perspective, we really don't want to tear open bags. But we do have, when the material comes in, it goes in this machine called a drum feeder. It's got this giant spinning drum with metal teeth, and it will tear open a lot of the bags, which is a plus. But we really encourage people to not bag it, unless it's like in a paper bag, like I said, with a shred. That's a little different. But we really don't want the plastic bags because it's problematic for us.
Sure. And I guess that's one of the reasons why some of them are the light blue color, so you can see inside of them.
Yeah, that's better, but we still don't like those either. Yeah, just because also the bag itself, we're going to throw away, even if we can get the material separated from it, because there's no market from it. Nobody will buy it.
Right. Now, a question on economics. So if you had 3 times as many plastic bottles, and there was that many more on the market, that would drive down the price, I would assume, for the bulk recycling for plastics. But on the other hand, you need the demand to purchase the recycled bulk to put into new products. So do we have to do both of these things at once? Increase the amount going back into the stream, but then also come up with innovative ways to make, cars out of plastic or dashboards of cars and, big pieces?
Well, the more demand is always good, but it also depends on the grade of plastic. Like the milk jugs, the demand is incredibly high, because a lot of states now are requiring that a certain percentage of plastics be made from recycled content. And since you can make any color you want out of natural, the natural is now worth more than aluminum, which is unheard of. And so I would take 3 times more natural right now because I could sell it and make a lot of money. So it does kind of depend. Like I said, that's kind of in different states, it's legislatively mandated, and that's kind of driven price. So, we like that. But yeah, just like, we all know how supply and demand economics work. If we flood the market with a bunch of extra PET, then the mills won't have to pay as much and they can be more selective. So, obviously when there's, more demand, then that would be better. And then we, look to try and get more, drive more supply to the best of our ability.
Sure. And for the instance you talked about with like the Tide containers and such, what would it do to your machines if the actual Tide container was white but was wrapped in a plastic covering to give it the branding that the company wanted? Would that still need to be removed somehow to get it into the machine?
No, if it just got like a film layer over the hard plastic, rigid, it'd be nice to remove it. But when the mill's not going to complain, they'll take care of that once. The mills understand. They want perfect material, but they know they're not going to get perfect material, so they do have mitigation strategies for dealing with some non-spec material like that.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking that for companies that want to produce a more pure plastic product but still have their branding, that seems like it would be a good solution for everyone.
It'd be cheaper for them.
I was going to ask too. Yeah. So I mean, on the industry level, is that something that's happening with product producers, that people in the recycling world are going to these people and saying, "Hey, instead of making your tub orange for your brand, maybe consider keeping it clear, so that way it's more recyclable, and it just works better for the whole ecosystem."
I think that the mills that are looking for recycled plastic to produce more plastics, trying some of that. But whether the recycling industry is going to any of these, I mean, it's possible, but that's way above my pay grade. I'm not sure what might be happening along those lines.
Well, we're starting to get towards 2:50. Does anyone have any more questions for Bruce?
Well, I did have a couple. I wanted to kind of get a few takeaways, and so if no one else does, I'll go forward here. Well, I'm a little more optimistic about how much plastic is getting recycled from what you get in than what my expectations were. I'd always heard that it's a limited amount, and a lot of it goes to trash. So that's a good thing. If we were to counsel people on the best way to help support this goal of recycling what is often single-use plastic, it would be, if you're purchasing something, to try to get a container, in a container that is not colored, is clear, as good as your white milk bottles.
Yeah, I mean, if people really care about recycling, don't buy a single-use plastic container. Don't get, I'd recommend, if you're gonna get detergent, don't get the flexible bag of Tide Pods. Get the firm, the solid container, because that is easily recyclable, and the Tide Pod bag is going to be trash.
Yeah, but what we've often heard is that even if it's marked as recyclable, that with the symbol on the back and a certain number on it, that it's not. And what I'm hearing from you, that's not really true. Some has more value than others, but all of it can potentially be dealt with and recycled. Is that reasonable?
No, that's
No.
not. Like I said, I mean, they all have the symbol on it. The plastics industry wants to tell you it's all recyclable. The Tide Pod bag has the symbol on it, but it's going to be trash.
So how do we mostly determine? By rigidity?
By rigidity, yeah. If it's rigid, it's way more likely to get captured and be recycled.
Okay, so that would be the first advice: buy something that's rigid. Make sure it has a symbol on it. Are there any symbols that are just simply a no-go at this point that you're not going to?
Other than styrofoam's the only one that's really a problem.
Okay.
And sometimes you'll see a symbol on styrofoam, sometimes you won't. But as far as curbside recycling, styrofoam is the only one that, there's nothing we can do with that.
Okay, make sure it's clean, obviously.
We like clean. And by clean, just, I've had people tell me, well, I scrub my peanut butter jar completely clean. Just don't give me half a jar of peanut butter. As long as you've scraped as good as you can with your knife, then it's fine. I don't need it washed and sterilized.
Right.
But,
don't use 20 gallons of water to wash out a yogurt container.
Yeah, you're kind of defeating the purpose there.
Yep. Okay. And obviously, you don't want any bags. And that's back to the rigidity. Now, in terms of things like people are buying compostable things like, and the compostable silverware looks like plastic. What happens when that comes into you? Because there is no way to compost this stuff, really.
Yeah. So if some of that stuff gets captured, because a lot of it is going to be a plastic 4 or 5. And so some of that stuff will get captured by the optical sorter, and some of it will go out the back end. So, those can be hit or miss. Some of it will get recycled, and some of it won't.
Right. So is plastic silverware recyclable, though?
It's not the best.
Got it. Yeah, not the best. So, okay. So you're choosing between two bad options: plastic and compostable, which is not really compostable except in a commercial facility. Okay, so you got two bad options there. There are no good ones on that. So, okay. Well, this makes sense, and I appreciate it.
Yep. All right.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Bruce. Maybe we can do this in the future when we can get a tour and see all the big machines in use, if that's possible.
All right. Well, you know how to reach out to me.
Okay. Great. Well, this was very helpful, and going back to things being above your pay grade, I think you should get a raise. So I think this was great.
I agree. All right. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.